This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. I highly recommend you share this with people who don't have much of a clue, because when you see these things that they want to call coincidences over and over again, sometimes a light bulb goes off in some of these zombies' heads and they realize, wow, that's really suspicious. Maybe it isn't a coincidence. And just like in those Batman movies, you might remember, or all the Batman movies, the Joker would leave a calling card. Well, our government leaves a calling card too. Because conveniently, when all of these events that they plan actually happen, they just happen to be doing meetings or drills at the same time. And you might say, what does that mean? Well, you might remember the event that happened on the 11th of September in 2001. Yeah, at that same time, they were actually running a real drill of the same thing happening. How coincidental is that? Oh, it's not a coincidence, obviously. And then they thought when it was all going down that it was actually a drill going down. Hey, you might remember a lot of these events that happen at schools. Do you think it's a coincidence that all these schools actually run the drill, the same exact drill of these events happening at the schools that they happen at? They run them beforehand, right? How about the event in Boston when that happened? That marathon event. Oh, they happen to run a drill then too. Hey, does anybody remember Event 201? I know I covered it. I know I remember it. Yeah, they ran that a couple of weeks before, one of the biggest things in the history of the world happened. One of the biggest psyops happened. One of the biggest planned events happened. They ran that little experiment, little drill that they ran, right? Event 201, if you're not familiar. They ran that right before the outbreak occurred. Was anyone suspicious? They called that a conspiracy. So how about the fact that on August the 8th in Maui, when these wildfires started, quote unquote wildfires, you mean when the direct energy weapon hit? Yeah, that's what I mean. How about the fact that they actually had a meeting in Waikiki on the same day, which was planned in advance? All of the people happened to be meeting there who were responsible for the emergency management of the event in Maui. So how convenient they had an excuse as to why it was an inept emergency management that took place, why the alarms didn't go off, and why the emergency crews were not, doing what they were supposed to be doing. In fact, they were trapping people in Lahaina, turning people around who were trying to flee. All these people were meeting in Waikiki, in Honolulu at the same time. That must be a coincidence, as the deadliest U.S. wildfires in a century razed Maui. The emergency officials responsible for responding to them were all on another island at the same time. And guess what they were doing while they were there? They were learning how to deal with exactly such a disaster. Isn't that crazy? So they weren't meeting over there talking about just random topics, just like Event 201. They were meeting over there talking about the exact thing that happened on the exact day. That must be a coincidence too. How much more dumbed down can this society get and not realize that these are planned events? And who else was there? FEMA was there. Oh boy, what a coincidence. Take a look.
Those in attendance were quite literally the who's who of disaster response, both locally and from across the Pacific region. They were gathered in Waikiki for an annual FEMA disaster meeting, a half-hour plane ride away from a wildfire that would become the deadliest in the United States in more than a century. As tropical storm force winds whipped up wildfires on Maui August 8th, thousands were unaware they were in the crosshairs of a deadly inferno. That evening, Lahaina town was leveled. In the ashes are the remains of an unknown number of people unable to escape.
So many people that I know said we never knew anything about the fire.
That same day, several of the country's top emergency management officials were in Hawaii hosting an annual conference. The agenda listed 74 attendees at this year's Pacific Partnership meeting, including FEMA leadership and several members of the Center for Homeland Defense and Security. H&N Investigates confirmed the head of Maui County's emergency management agency, Herman Ndaya, was also on hand, along with as many as 6 leaders from the state's emergency management office, including Director Major General Kenneth Hara Administrator James Barros, and Executive Officer Don Aviao. In an email, a state emergency management spokesperson said those officials were part of a coordinating call about 11 a.m. to discuss multiple wildfires that had sparked on Big Island and Maui. That spokesperson went on to say HIEMA personnel attending the meeting were updated on developments throughout the day. FEMA confirmed the fires were indeed part of discussions during the conference.
There were consultations about the fires among local, state, and FEMA participants.
We asked both Maui County and the state who was left in charge while those local emergency officials attended the meeting and at what time they were made aware of the catastrophe unfolding in Lahaina. Despite multiple requests, those questions remain unanswered. Meanwhile, many who experienced the horror of that day firsthand say government failed them by not sounding the emergency sirens.
It's inexcusable, really. It's inexcusable. A lot of people probably could have gotten out.
We've confirmed the acting governor at the time, Sylvia Luke, authorized an initial emergency proclamation for the multiple fires that were burning on Maui and Big Island at 3:21 that Tuesday afternoon. What's still unclear is when Andaya and Major General Hara left the meeting to respond to the emergency. A state spokesperson tells us Barros and Aviao returned to the state's Emergency Operations Center a little after 5 that afternoon.
So, can you make this stuff up? They're learning how to deal with exactly the same disaster that hit in Maui at the same time they're meeting in Waikiki to talk about it. And people still don't connect the dots, right? And I guess they won't connect the dots either to the fact that on September 25th in Honolulu, they're having the Hawaii Government Summit, which I've mentioned in other videos before. The Hawaii Digital Government Summit, right? And do you know what that's about? It's about government AI taking control, government technology. And yeah, they meet all the time in Hawaii to talk about this, but how convenient now as they've been pushing everything being connected. They've even, if you look at some of the videos that they have on YouTube, even going back to 2012, 2014, talking about the Internet of Bodies, right? Right out of the World Economic Forum's mouth, pushing this Internet of Bodies. Everybody, people don't understand, Internet of Bodies means you're connected to the internet. You and everything, right? That's what a smart city is. And in the smart city, even you're connected to the Wi-Fi, literally through your DNA, right? So they can monitor and track you, right? So they're meeting coincidentally on the 25th of September, while these people just coincidentally happened to meet in Waikiki to talk about the same exact event that happened on the same exact day. Can you make it up? Nope. So the heads of the Maui and Hawaii emergency management agencies were at their annual conference on Oahu on August 8th, the day the fire started leveling Lahaina. FEMA confirmed this to the Hawaii News Now, to HNN, from the clip you just saw. Key federal officials were also at FEMA's annual disaster meeting when one of the worst disasters in recent U.S. history started raging on the other island. So FEMA was there, the Maui and Hawaii Emergency Management wasn't there, conveniently being there at the same time, because obviously this is staged and planned, so that they didn't have to be or have an excuse as to why they weren't in Lahaina doing anything about it, as to why the sirens didn't go off. I mean, it's incredible. So the officials who were gathering in Waikiki became part of a coordinating call at about 11 a.m. A state emergency management spokesperson told the local outlet of what would have been nearly 5 hours after the blazes started. You'd think maybe, right? Because, it's not like Oahu is, like going from Los Angeles all the way to Greece or something. Oahu's just like an island away. You'd think maybe when this meeting started, they say, holy crap, there's a fire going on over on Maui. We should get back over there because we're the emergency management agency. This is what we do for a living. Oh, wait, we actually are the ones who are helping our government start the fires and do this stuff, and people perish and their homes perish on purpose. So, of course, we just conveniently had somewhere else to be on that day out of all the days that they could possibly plan it. And all the wildfires that have ever happened in Maui, which are like none, they happened to have a meeting that day, so they conveniently couldn't be on the island. And then 5 hours later, after they find out about it, and are updated about it, what do? They stay at the meeting. Well, of course they do, right? That's like being a firefighter in a town. Let's just say the town is called Zombieville, right? And you're a firefighter in Zombieville. And on the day of this big fire, you happen to be at a firemen's meeting in the town next to Zombieville, which was only like 5 miles away. And somebody calls in and they go, hey, there's a massive fire over in Zombieville. And the firefighter goes, oh, really? Well, I'm at a meeting over here, the next town away, 5 miles from where you are. And we're talking about just the same thing potentially ever happening in Zombieville. We're actually here meeting right now talking about the potential of a fire taking out Zombieville. Oh, really? Well, it's happening right now. Well, we're going to stay here and finish our meeting, though. But we need you here to fight the fires and to actually come in with your emergency management system to help coordinate this. Yeah, but we're meeting over here talking about what's happening there in the future. But it's happening right now, but we're going to stay. We're going to stay over here in the other town, and we're going to wait for it all to end. Then we're going to come over and say, oops, right? Because that makes sense, right? Wouldn't everybody go, why are the firefighters not here fighting the fire in Zombieville, right? Those are things that are common sense that people should obviously just say, yeah, that doesn't seem to make sense. Shouldn't they have just left the meeting in Maui? Well, of course in Waikiki, shouldn't they have left to get to Maui? Right? Well, of course they didn't leave because they knew what was going to happen. And they needed somewhere to be, so they had an excuse, so they didn't look super incompetent or didn't look super obvious, even though this makes it look super obvious. But they could do this stuff and get away with it. They got away with it on the 11th of September. They've gotten away with it in the hooks of the sand and Sandy. They've gotten away with this stuff at all the drills we've seen in those places. Event 201, the Boston Marathon. Should we go on? Because we can. Because these events are always staged out in advance. And conveniently, these people are always just somewhere. Just like George Bush was down in a classroom reading a book and happened to talk about steel, right? Burning steel. I mean, come on now, right? Are we that dumb? Oh, apparently we are in this world. So they say there were consultations about the fires among local, state, and FEMA participants, according to FEMA spokesperson John Mills. Among the attendees was then Maui County Emergency Management Agency Director Herman Andaya. The key official quickly attacked further response to the disaster as well as his apparent lack of qualifications for the vital job. Well, of course he had no qualifications. Your qualifications for these jobs is that you're in a secret society, that you've gone through Freemasonry, you're either a top-level Mason or you're in another secret society. That's all you need to qualify. Just like in today's world, all you need to qualify is to claim you're the opposite gender, you automatically get hired. Automatically, on the spot. Well, in this case, this guy's got no qualifications. Nobody's concerned. They probably thought that Herman Andaya being in a different, getting him out of there might have saved his keister, but since people were in an uproar about it, he was the sacrificial lamb. It doesn't matter. Just like the guy in Las Vegas who got moved to Maui conveniently for this event, the detective or the police sergeant, this guy will get moved somewhere else. And I'm sure at the next event, we'll find him standing in the background with a similar job title that he's not qualified for, right? So he resigned a day after defending the decision not to use emergency sirens, but blaming health reasons for his exit. Of course, it was health reasons. And of course, there was a reason not to use emergency sirens, because he wasn't on the island. He was meeting about how to combat this event, even though he has no experience, and even though the event happened on the same day. Others that attended the event included Hawaii Emergency Management Agency's MAJ, General Kenneth Hara, Administrator James Barros, and Executive Don Owayu. It's unclear exactly. I mean, you can almost laugh at this stuff that people don't see it. There's obviously nothing to laugh at about the tragedy that happened there and the people's lives affected. You got to laugh at how they get away with this stuff and how in our faces it is and how stupid people are not to see it. You can only laugh at this point. Like, you have to be a complete moron not to see this stuff. And people were like, I never heard about that, the drill on the 11th of September. I never heard about the drill at the Hook or any of these other schools that conveniently have a drill right beforehand where they're like, oh, we just went through an active blank drill a few days ago. And then it happened. Oh, right. So all the actors got to do all their roles. All the people pretending to be cops or the cops themselves got to do the walkthrough so they knew exactly what to do. And they went alive with the event. How convenient. It's all really convenient, isn't it? So the Maui and Hawaii Emergency Management Agencies did not immediately respond for comment, with questions still linger about who knew what and when. Local and state officials have been slammed over the response to the fires. That's all that happens. Then everybody forgets about it. Then they do another one. Just like I covered what's going on in Louisiana, right? So with specific criticism over the lack of immediate evacuations and the island's warning sirens failing to activate, just days before resigning, Antaya defended his decision to only send out alerts via mobile devices, radio, television, and the country's opt-in resident alarm system, claiming that the warning sirens were unnecessary. Yeah, they're really unnecessary, as flames come through people's homes, annihilating their homes, annihilating their families, their pets, etc. Yeah, it wasn't needed, right? And they're probably just trying to use the excuse, of course, like, oh, we sent you a text. Like, well, what if people don't have text? A lot of elderly people are not sitting on their phones like the millennials are. Okay, I don't consider myself elderly. I'm never near a phone. Okay, or watching television, right? Wouldn't you think, like, when tornado warnings happen, they send the siren out in the whole town to make those people aware so they could shelter, right? You think they would have done that, but of course we've seen that the people who tried to evacuate, who were notified of it or did see it with their own eyes, were told to go right back in. Right, so they're telling them, imagine on the 11th of September, people running and they're like, no, go back into the building. They're like, wait, I'm running. The building's, it's on fire. And they're like, no, turn around, head in, go up the stairs. What would happen then? It's pretty similar, is it not? They're telling people to go right back in. They're not letting them leave. They're trapping them in there. Oh, and conveniently, they also were trying to buy out all their land. So you really just look at this stuff and it will drive you crazy at times. Not the fact that they're doing it at this point. I think we've all accepted the fact that these people are demons. We read about the wicked in the Bible, so we know to expect this, even though sometimes it even shocks me. But again, I always remind myself the stuff they do with kids, how can you find any of this stuff shocking? Because that's the type of stuff that's unfathomable. But what really just drives you crazy is that people are so dumb that they actually believe these people. And they think that they're good people and caring people, and they think these are all conspiracies. And of course, they never bring up the stuff with the Freemasons and the secret societies, right? Because that would help people understand how these people network and do this. They're just like, oh, and so-and-so's in on it, so-and-so. They can't fathom how all these people would be in on it. Then you start looking at, all the Ivy League schools and all the people that are put in these positions that are all parts of secret societies, of Skull and Bones. We all know the story, right? And then you can wonder, you hear the guy, they're like, how did this idiot get the job in Maui? He had no experience and he did a horrible job and then he resigned for health reasons. Well, how do you think he got the job? They're like, I don't know how he got the job. He got the job because he was placed in that position and told this is what you're going to do. And now when it goes live, this is how you're going to handle it, okay? You're going to play this role. And this is how we're going to destroy Maui. This is how we're going to destroy Louisiana. This is how we're going to destroy Canada. And then whatever else is next on their list. California, right? Soon to be the East Coast with more of these hurricanes, etc. They all just are put in these positions and people just go, man, they put an idiot in there. That's why it happened, just like what you're seeing in the White House. Oh, there's an idiot in the White House. This guy's destroying America. Oh, yeah, there's an idiot in there to destroy it, so you believe that it's being destroyed by his and the Democrats' idiocracy, but it's really being destroyed on purpose by conservatives in power and liberals in power. It's being destroyed by both. So they're going to say there's no warning, there's absolutely none. Lynn Robinson said, who lost her home in the fire, previously said nobody came around. We didn't see a fire truck or anybody. Of course not. Why would there be a fire truck when the whole town's on fire? Residents also have criticized the federal government's alleged slow response to the disaster, calling out FEMA for its strict bureaucracy, as many are looking for financial support after their homes and businesses were lost in the fires. And of course, FEMA happened to be there on the island in Oahu, and it took them a while to get on the ferry and get everything organized over in Maui. They probably took a paddle boat to get from the meeting to Maui, so it would take them a little bit extra longer. They probably were on a canoe, all the members of FEMA, instead of just flying over there and getting everything set up and helping out, right? I mean, it's absolutely incredible. This is their calling card, folks. Their calling card is that these things are staged in advance. You can even find meetings of these people meeting, problem, reaction, solution, right? Just like how they're meeting on the 25th of September to talk about artificial intelligence governance, right? Smart city governance. Remember, I've showed you, everybody who's been here, over and over again, World Economic Forum. Oh, we're in a smart city governance plan. Not elected, no. Okay, so how do you think they're going to get these in place? Without, openly being like, hey, we're doing this. And people are going to be like, wait, who elected you? We thought we had a republic here in America, AKA a wink, wink, a democracy, which it's not. People would be suspicious. So they got to burn everything down to get all this stuff put in place. They got to destroy everything, right? Order out of chaos, right? The phoenix rising from the ashes. So they have the event. I'll cover this event, obviously, thoroughly. The Digital Government Summit. It's incredible. They've been meeting for years. They've been talking about how everything needs to be connected to Wi-Fi. Right, as if the residents in Lahaina and the small business owners and the small souvenir shops in Lahaina, they were just going to convert over and, go Wi-Fi on every. I mean, of course they weren't. So they got to get rid of them. Just like they're doing in California, in San Francisco, Los Angeles, all done by design. And again, the calling cards, right? Meeting in advance. Event 201 should be the ultimate thing to wake people up. The fact that it hasn't just, at that point, you just go, you know what? These people are a lost cause. I mean, I continue to try to do this and hope to help, but the majority of people are just completely lost. I'm trying to get the people who are, in the middle or are just not understanding what's happening to arm them with information so that they're prepared and they could understand what's actually happening and be of use in this world, because those people who are following along with this are just walking zombies. There's no purpose for their lives. They're meaningless. They really are. There's no other way to put it. And of course, there's Christians who have been deceived because they don't want to see the wickedness. They don't want to read the parts of the Bible that talk about the wicked. They only want to read the things that make them feel good every day and the positive stuff. And then they get all confused with all this stuff about love and then they think love is tolerance, and they accept all these things that God is disgusted by and doesn't want around kids. They accept it and they promote it in their church because they're weak. They're weak-minded. And, let's be honest, they're stupid, a lot of them. So, and lukewarm is really the key term. So again, they met on the same day it started, talking about the same exact event potentially occurring in Maui, and nobody's raising an eyebrow about it. Pretty incredible, folks. Pretty incredible. I thank everyone for being here. Reminder, please sub to my other channels if you haven't yet. One more strike, I won't be able to upload for a couple of weeks. So if you like my daily content, you got to get over to the other channels now. I'm close to having them finished and built out, and I'm also going to upload in the next week or so a lot of stuff that was removed. I'm going to go through them and make sure that they're safe to upload. But if you're new to my channels and stuff, you'll want to see a lot of my content that's been removed. I have thousands of videos over the years. I mean, I'm a new YouTuber, excuse me. Frog in my throat. So definitely subscribe now. Reminder, join the website, uprisingrevival.com. If you haven't, at the very least, go over there and sign up for free videos. That way you're on the email list. You'll get notified of my videos. You'll get notified of where I'm uploading, what happened to me. I've lost hundreds of thousands of people, pretty much close to 1 million. Way over 1 million if you count all my channels. I don't know who are repeat subscribers or not, but let's just say over 1 million people I've lost connection with. I've had to rebrand and all that stuff. I mean, I'm a new YouTuber, so do that now over on the website, uprisingrevival.com. I thank you guys again. God bless all of you as always and your families.